Hello, friends. How are you? How's today? We are doing something a little different this week. We are talking about top fives. Yesterday we did punk bands. That was a question that was asked by our friend California Chris. Today, also a question asked by California Chris. Top 80s action shows. I was a huge 80s action show fan, and I have five on here. And one that is surprisingly not on here. And I think that I'm going to do my five, and then we're going to talk about the one that's not on here and why it's not on here. Because I think that if you think 80s action shows, it'd be like top of the list for most people. Not for me. I'm going to start at the bottom today. Yesterday we started at the top. Let's just be crazy here. Let's just do things wild. The bottom of the list, Airwolf. I honestly forgot Airwolf was a show until California Chris asked this question because he mentioned Airwolf. And I was like, oh my god, I loved Airwolf. Completely forgot about it. I think it was a little earlier in the 80s, so I was much younger. But that was one, along with number 3 on this list, that my dad and I watched together. And it was like, oh, it's Airwolf night. Let's go watch Airwolf. I loved that show. I don't remember much about it other than helicopters, guns, and explosions. And just, I don't know. It was awesome. I don't know if they were special forces or something. I would assume that they were something like that, but I might need to go watch it again because I've watched some of these post 1980s. I've watched some of these in the last few years, and actually, I still very much enjoy them. I think these series were just kind of like just good, silly. Like they're not taking themselves too seriously. Number 4 on my list, I think most people have forgotten this show. It only ran for one season, and that was Nighthawk. Nighthawk might be the reason I grew up loving motorcycles. Nighthawk was a guy. It was kind of like Knight Rider. Yeah, it was kind of, but it was motorcycle. In fact, I think there was some crossover. I think Nighthawk was maybe a spinoff or something. I think there was episodes where Nighthawk was in Knight Rider, or maybe the other way around. But I absolutely loved that show. It was just a dude on a motorcycle, a smart motorcycle, just doing whatever nonsense dudes on smart motorcycles do. And the number 1 on my list and made me fall in love with 2 vehicles. And one was motorcycles. Ultimately, I think he had like an older street trail bike. I never really liked that style of bike. I was always into the cruiser style. What was the show in the 90s with the bounty hunter that was like he rode a Harley or something? Maybe that show also made me fall in love with that. I think maybe when Nighthawk was around, I maybe enjoyed those types of bikes, but I've always been more personally into cruiser style motorcycles. But this show absolutely made me fall in love with motorcycles. Number 3, again, another show like Airwolf that me and my father watched together. It was every time it came on, it was super exciting. Was Fall Guy. Fall Guy was a show about Hollywood stuntman that moonlighted by doing outrageous things to retrieve stolen vehicles or whatever, save people from kidnappers, like whatever. He was kind of like a super spy, but not covert at all. Loved that show. It was ridiculous. Explosions and destroyed vehicles, and it was probably a little too mature for me. I seem to remember thinking that it was like a soap opera, but it had explosions, and I don't know if that's true or not. I haven't necessarily tried to watch it since the 80s, but I loved the action scenes. There's an opening sequence where he like rappels from a helicopter and lands in a vehicle or something like that. There was just I don't know, stuff like that made me fall in love with the art of cinema as a child, and start to study like how these things are done, because it seemed impossible, because it is, obviously. But yeah, Fall Guy. And then my number one, again, probably not who you're thinking of or what you're thinking of. My number 1 is MacGyver. MacGyver changed me in so many ways as a child. It taught me, it gave me permission to be curious, which I have always been super, super curious. I wanted to know the things that MacGyver knew so that I could get myself in and out of situations that he could. I wanted to have chemical and physical and engineering, mechanical. That's the word I was looking for. Intelligence, like he did, so that I could fix anything or do anything, and I did. I went for all of that, and I would say, like, to be completely honest, I don't have the database of intelligence that he has, but I did eventually become the guy who could, like, fix anything on the fly, and get myself out of situations with limited resources. I did become that guy. I learned how to fix vehicles. I learned how to wire. I learned how to do all the mechanical, electrical, pneumatic, whatever engineering that I could do. I think I could do a lot of those things that were portrayed in the show. MacGyver also, I had a mullet because of MacGyver. I buried a time capsule because of MacGyver, which is my most watched video on YouTube, like 9 million views now. And like Nighthawk, I fell in love with MacGyver's vehicle, which was a Jeep, specifically a Jeep Wrangler. He had a CJ, CJ7, which is the longer wheelbase CJ, and I always wanted a CJ. I never did end up getting one. I had a TJ, which was the early 90s version with the square headlights. Mine was a 95. I loved my TJ very, very much. I miss it dearly, but it was a gas hog and I just couldn't drive it anymore. So motorcycle, Jeep were two cars I fell in love with because of 80s action shows. And also, like, I copied a lot of MacGyver. I used to literally carry duct tape on me the way that he did, like smash a roll, put it in your pocket. I've carried a Swiss Army knife my entire life. Kind of stopped since the pandemic because I don't go anywhere. So the Swiss Army knives are generally like in reaching distance of where I'm sitting or in the bathroom or whatever, where I use them the most. But yeah, there you go. That's my top 5 80s action shows. Did I miss? Oh, the thing that I missed, the A-Team. I didn't really like it. Never connected with it. I think it was too adult for me. I think I was too young to get it. It was kind of sexual. It was kind of man humor. It just it didn't connect with me at all. I never really enjoyed that show. So that's the one that I think people would be most upset about not being on my list. So tell me, what are your favorite 80s action shows? Put it in the comments. Thank you for watching this video. If you liked it, please give it a thumbs up. If you didn't watch yesterday's video, do that. And come back and watch the rest of this week because we're doing top 5s all week. If you're new here, please hit the subscribe button. I really appreciate the positive growth. Thank you very much. I'll see you tomorrow. Today's 1,000 plus little things happy, successful people do differently. We have been learning 16 harsh truths that make us stronger. We are on number 8. Someone else will always have more than you. Whether it's money, friends, or magic beans, there will always be someone who has more than you. But remember, it's not how many you have, it's how passionate you are about collecting them. It's all about the journey. Does somebody have more than Elon Musk? And what is it? Couth?